puppy. Chucky, 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 Chucky. Ay, 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 ay. La, la. Thanks for your advice. So our first item is this aeroplane. So if you still didn't understand this, I can demonstrate with a simple example. Hey guys, welcome to another video, and today we are back with some more science experiments. So watch the montage, and while you're doing that, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, we've got some special guests right here. Well, let's get on with it! So guys, this is our first experiment. Do you know what it is? Well, it is the sink or float experiment. Here we've got a huge tub full of water, and here is a mini tub with so many items. We will put those items one by one into the tub, and we'll see which one will sink and which one will float. Here we go! So our first item is the screwdriver. Hey Goofy, do you know will it sink or will it float? Sink. Okay, let's see. Plop. It instantly sinked. Yup, Goofy is right! Well, moving on to our next item. Which one should I choose? A dice. Donald, will it sink or will it float? Donald thinks float. This is gonna be a tricky one. It sinks! Donald, you're wrong! Let me try. A magnet? Now it's my turn to guess. I think this will sink. Every single item sinks! We need a floating one, alright. What about this? She shall I collected? Let's put this. It sinks! This one is going to be an easy one. Look how small this rock is. Goofy, what do you think it's gonna be? Well, since every single item sinks, Goofy thinks it's gonna be a sink. And he's correct again. 2 to 0. So, please tell me that this will float. This is a regular balloon. Float. We've got our first floating item! Hooray! Now let's try the counter part of it, the water balloon. That floats and also sinks. So that's a float actually. So that's 2, 1, and 1. Okay, Donald, I'm giving this one to you now. What will this be? A sink or a float? You think float? Well, okay. It's a float! Okay! Next, let's try this. Unedible banana. Will it sink or will it float? It must float. Yay! Floated! That means I'm tied! 2, 2, 2. An egg? This should be the raw egg. Will the raw egg sink or will it float? This is difficult. Sink. Time for the boiled egg. Will it sink or will it float? Sink. Yep. Just like it's Brother, it sinks. Let me try a flower maybe. Yeah, this one. I'm gonna give it to you. Goofy thinks it sinks. Goofy around again. After 3, 2, 2. Let me try to lift this thing. Oh, Goofy, will this sink or will this float? He thinks sink. I think that too. Please do not crack the boiled egg hammer. Yeah, Goofy, you're right. 3, 3, 4. So next item is this plastic spoon. Will it sink or will it float, Goofy? He thinks float. I'm actually surprised! It sank! I thought Goofy was correct! Well, you're wrong for the 3rd time. Okay, next item is this car. Donald, will you think it will sink or will it float, Donald? So, Donald thinks it's gonna float. I do not think that, guys. Just as I expected, it sank! Next one for me is this apple. Will it sink or will it float? I think, judging on its weight, fish should sink. What? It sank! It float! That thing! It's so heavy! Well, not that heavy actually, but I thought it was gonna sink, and it did sink for a while. But then it just bobbed up and is floating. That just surprised me. Next item is this ball. Goofy, sink or float? Or Goofy thinks sink. That surprised me too! Life is full of surprises, guys. That is the lesson that we have learned today. This thing is floating the ball. Well, let's check this metal spoon. Donald, sink or float? Do you think it is sinking or floating? Donald thinks it is sinking. And he's correct. He's tied with me and Goofy. Once more left behind. Okay, let's try this car. This one's a tricky one. Donald, will it sink or will it float? He thinks that our cars sink. Let's go. And he's wrong. Well, I guess that was a tricky one. I knew that this would float because it's very light. So next one, this poison light frog instead of dark frog. I think this will float. Why am I always wrong? Okay, anyways. This rock. Goofy, sink or float? I guess he thinks it's gonna sink. It just crashed to the bottom. So guys, we only have a few items remaining, but now let's put them in. This railway track, its ancestor, the train, is floating, I guess. So this railway track should float. And I'm correct. Actually, did you know that this is made of wood? Wood is less dense than water sometimes. So that's why it floats. Okay, so this is the last item, guys. A coin. To be specific, it's a 10-cent coin. Donut, will you think this 10-cent coin will sink or float? Well, based on metal spoons, they sink. That means Donald thinks a metal coin will also sink. Plop. Goofy just said, why does a little coin sink when a huge metal boat doesn't sink on the water? Well, okay, now I think it's time to tell you the science behind this. So here's the science behind this. When an object is more dense than the water, the object will sink. When the object is lighter than the water, it will come up and float. So if you still don't know, let me demonstrate this with a simple example. These are two same bottles. They are just a different color. One is filled with water and the other one is totally empty. Let us put the empty one first. The empty one just floats there. And this one technically is floating, but the water actually increased its density. So now it's more dense and it's also a bit of sinking. Also, no animals were harmed in the making of this video, except that one frog that somehow jumped in and decided to end its life. That is the end of the Sink or Float challenge. Now, we will use what all of us have learned and we will put that together to make a magic trick. Let's go. So, for this experiment, we will need baking soda, oil, a spoon, this food coloring, and a cup of vinegar. So, firstly, we put at least 2 to 3 spoons of baking soda in the cup. Next, we fill it up with oil. First, we put this aside, then we fill it up with oil. So after that, we open this food coloring and put just a bit of it on the vinegar. Then we mix the vinegar and get ready. The magic is about to happen, guys. Or I hope so. And put the spoon aside. Now we pour all the vinegar into there and we just watch. It's making a fizzing noise. The bubbles are going up and then falling down like tiny little droplets. The baking soda and the vinegar come together and react, so then it will cause the bubbles to come, and since the vinegar has food coloring in it, you can actually see those bubbles, and then they just fall down, and look how beautiful this thing is. Actually, like now I can't even see, there's so many bubbles inside. Last time we tried this, there was barely any. And it's still going on and on. They're just falling down and then it's just going back up again. So the science behind this is that vinegar is more dense than the oil and it sinks down and reacts with the baking soda. That causes carbon dioxide, which makes the bubbles.